What's happening, Andy?
What's going on? Thanks for having me again, Scott. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. We're taking this Rolling Thunder episode 3. We're kicking it off. We're doing new versus used. What should I do? And I think this is I think we had a conversation on the other day, and I think we do a deep dive into it. I think there's some good stuff to do, and some different points to look at, and what you can get new versus used, and things to look for, and things you have to watch out for, obviously. And sometimes you can get some pretty banging setups for $1 if you take it and playing your cards right, and you're actively looking around for them. So we'll be going kicking that off. And I think, all honesty, man, it was touching base on it. I pretty much my first, I'd say 3 or 4, maybe even 5 setups were all just used stuff that I'd gotten, which I've been called the Salvation Army of car audio before, because I end up randomly people giving me crap all the time. But I think that's a good way to get into car audios. A buddy, a guy that's got it. He's done upgraded his stuff. He's got an amp laying around or a box laying around. You just kind of piece your stuff together. I think you kind of just started something similar to that too. Did you take it? You started off with used equipment or no?
Right, and that's the best way to go, really, especially when you don't know what you're doing. And instead of spending a bunch of money on big box store products, you can find decent deals used. And yes, like you said, whenever I started out, I did buy brand new products when I very first started out. But once I started to actually get into car audio and wanting more, I went towards the used products. Because you're paying anywhere from 40 to 70% of retail, which you can get a lot more bang for your buck, and just that alone. But the problem with that comes other things. There's always pros and cons for everything. So with that, one con could be if you don't have the right testing equipment before you purchase, there's no refunds. It's not Walmart. You can't just take it back and get your money back. So you got to make sure you have what you have and you got what you got for your money that you paid.
No, that's for sure. That's something definitely to think about too. And myself, I've bought dud equipment. You can get duds. You also can get some certified good stuff, and I think that goes back into knowing what to look for or knowing how to test. And a lot of times too, I think my probably last 3 or 4 transactions I've done 4 amplifiers. I've been lucky enough, I've got my battery bank in the back of the car. But hey, man, do you care if I just send power to this real quick and turn it on? The
Right.
I think a lot of times, testing an amplifier is pretty easy, but unless you just have a setup ready to plug up a speaker to it, sometimes it can be misleading. So we're going to go into tonight. We did a little challenge over the last couple of days where we took and gathered together some new and used banger setups here, and hopefully we'll have some good deals to go through, or also some new used stuff. We also, we're already going straight just acting like used is better, but we have quite a few awesome stuff on the market today that you can put together at a relatively good price point. Have some crazy setups also that you can do SPL or probably sound good at musically, all that stuff. And we'll go ahead and get into these. I think we're going to start off now. You want to go over the new or the used first? What you want to dig into?
Well, let's go used. Let's go
Feeling
used.
All right, cool. So we'll go ahead and start this off with Andy's used option 1 here. We've got a few things here. Boom. I think this is actually a pretty insane setup here. And to think about it, too, to buy this stuff new, that was probably a hunk of change right there. We got 2 Kicker 12 L7 solo barracks and with a JL/501. And those do more than the rated power. And I'm going to go ahead and step into one more thing, too, because I didn't specify when our tolerances here. We had $1,000 in our pocket, new and or used. What are you going to buy? So $1,000. What can you get? Sub, box, and amp. So you take and what are you going to be buying with that? So we'd specified you're either going to buy the enclosure or a $250 value for the enclosure to be thrown in there for your new or your used setup. And what can you get? And the used stuff had to be within a 100-mile radius of Facebook Marketplace. So we got Andy kicking it off with the used option 1 of the solo barracks and /1. I bet you that was probably $1,000 by itself new.
Easy. Easy.
At
The
least.
Kicker's $750 for that whole little setup for the L7, and the JL/, I think that retailed $450, if not close to $500. Because I believe that's the one that does 500 at 1.5, or it's like
It's like a stable, like 1 to 2 ohm or something like that, does the same power.
right,
Yeah,
right,
I mean, I don't know the specifics on that one, but I know those slash amps are getting pretty solid after people are even digging crusty ones out and repairing them these days. I think that'd
right.
be a solid one in it, $500. And I was saying before the stream, you could clean the crap out of this. That box and subs would probably look great. And then you could take and literally mount the amp to the box. It probably has great vibration protection in it, and then take and sell it for $500, if not more, when you're done with it. Like, if as long as you don't blow a sub, that's definitely like a certified banger one. I think I'll give you some points on that one. So
Thanks,
we're gonna
buddy.
go there to my used first one. I went on the RF side, and I've got some Power HX210s and an Audio Pipe 3K. The anybody that knows the Rockford guys, these HX210s, I could literally pull those out of the box and clean them, like I was saying, and then get my 450 back out of just that by itself, easy. But and I feel like the Audio Pipe 3K is gonna be a solid one. These are dual 4 subs, so you're not gonna be wired into the dirt if you don't want to. So I feel like that would be a good one to throw together again too. At $800, you could literally either part that back out or sell them bad boys and get your money back out of it. And it looks like this guy's got this in like a hatchback or something like that. I bet you that slams because there's subs up base back. I mean, I don't know. It looks like some kind of hatchback or something like that. He's got it in.
Heck yeah, I don't know. I can't tell. Maybe, yeah, definitely with the hatch because you could see the roof on the top there. It's
Yeah.
definitely a smaller vehicle. Definitely bangs. I wonder what amp he had riding on that because that's a different listing from that one. I wonder what he had.
Yeah, I'm not sure on it. It didn't list what he had on or have any more pictures on it, but I bet you that would be just a dandy. The
Right.
Another one to clean them things up. That's something to look for, guys. Like, you know, I didn't even a lot of these things. I wouldn't type it in like kicker or rougher. I'm just doing like subwoofer, like bass, like car audio, and just see what people have. And a lot of times you can find some crazy stuff that's either cheap or taken and you know, they just don't know what they have. You know, they just need money. Like the first Rockford
Right.
Power amp I bought, my Love Memento, and I keep the bird sheet by my desk all the time. I got it for $300, brand new in box, and it's like an $800 amplifier 15 years ago. So like
Jesus.
it was listed under books and toys on Facebook. So it's like I just
Wow.
browse marketplace here and there. But I think that'd be another dandy. And we'll go used option 2 on Andy right now. Let's see. This one I can't even take in like go farther than this. And he found $150. He got a Rockford Fosgate Punch 301, which will do the rated plus a little bit. I'm sure it's like a 2006 plus amplifier right there. So that's a newer Rockford amp. I think they still even support that one as far as repairs and stuff. And those 2 Sony Explodes, dude. I bet you that bangs for freaking $150. Somebody starting out right now could literally do no electrical upgrades, run 8-gauge AutoZone amp wire kit to the back, and I bet you that would slap for $150. And then again, save your money, sell it for $150 when you're done. Have you had any experience with those subs? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, you're good. No, yeah, I had Sony Explodes. I had the Pentagon looking ones, but they were black, the 1300 watts in a sealed enclosure. I had dude, for 350 RMS, man, in a sealed enclosure. I think I had them on a Kenwood 9104D, about 700 RMS. Those things got down at 2 ohms, man. It wasn't bad at all. But it's funny how that listing is $150 because it's like a running joke with me because this one guy asked me, was a friend of a friend, and he was like, hey, I need to get a system. I heard you're the guy. I got $150. I need a sub, amp, and box. Can you find it for me? And I'm like, all right, sure. Yeah, I'll see what I can do. I'll let you know whenever I hear about it. If I find something, I'll talk to Taylor and he'll tell you. Oh, no, man, here's my phone number. Gave me the money. Literally
wow.
the same day I met him. He's like, find me the setup. Let me know when you got it. Boom. I'm like, great, I got to find a system for $150. So no pressure. Plus, he just handed me the cash, and I'm like, wow, this guy's awful trusting. He really trusts me. So long story short, I did find a system for about $110, $120. So I have to make some kind of profit. I installed it for him too. And it was 2 JLW310s in a sealed enclosure, little guys, old school. They were like version 1 or 0, whatever it was, with the bubble cap. And on a Craig 250.1, something old school, nothing crazy power, but those JLs didn't need it. So it's like a thing. Sure. Everyone says, hey, can you get me a system? I'm like, well, probably have to spend more than $150 because I kind of lucked out on that one, but it's funny another one pops up.
Oh, for sure. And I've had only one experience with those Sony Explodes, and the same thing, the black 1300 watt one. I had an EG hatchback Honda that I took and was selling at the time. And I pulled out that's the one I showed you that I had the Kicker CVX15 in, and I pulled it out, and I went to Walmart, and I bought the Sony Explode, the Pyramid 1100 red watt amp, and then the black 1300 watt sub. And, dude, that thing, impressed the crap out of me because I just pulled out my kicker stuff and slapped the Sony stuff right in, and I was like, Jesus Murphy, this is impressive for the price. I literally bought like the Walmart prefab box. You slap together, it's flat packed, all that stuff, and it was
Yeah.
impressive. But
Yeah,
no,
those Sonys are pretty efficient. They really are.
going those W3s you're talking about too, those are efficient. That's one of the first subs that I had, and when I was in high school. But sadly, the surround turned to dust. But we're gonna keep moving on. We've got that. Go to my used option too. I think this one was a good one. You said you never heard of the Interfires, but they're an okay budget 15-inch sub. But I think they're like I said around like $120 a piece. But 4 of them for $300 and a base 3K. But I feel like that's gonna be a pretty slapping setup. It's a brand new with a plastic on it, smart 3K, and 415s. I mean, where can you go wrong with that? At the end of the day, still $830. You got the box, the amp, all that stuff. If you grenade some stuff, you send them later.
Right.
What you think on that one? I don't know. You said you got some scarcity on that one because the brand recognition. That's something to think about too when we're buying this used stuff. So you're going in here. I've heard of the brand for you, but you have not. So that's something like what makes you weary about buying a brand that you've not heard of before?
Well, there's a lot of not copycats, but kind of, where it looks like a subwoofer, but the performance is not of that brand. But I mean, it looks kind of like a Rockford R2 kind of subwoofer, like a almost like a home theater kind of subwoofer, where it's not much excursion, but pretty efficient, but you don't need that much power to it. So that definitely would get loud on that Terra amp. Just I wouldn't play 20 hertz too long.
I wouldn't do it too long. Yeah, it's probably honestly, it's probably too much power for those. But all reality is that, dude, some of these subs it was slim picking if I was trying to find multiple subs, And I think
Right.
they'll move forward. We got Andy's new option number 1. We're gonna go right out the box. He's gonna go with 4 15s and a 1500-watt RMS audio pipe. I feel like that one right there, that's some pretty big bass for under $1,000. You got $749 that enclosure, 250 puts you right at that $1,000 mark. That's going to be somebody having a pretty dad blame reliable setup that they have a good upgrade path from later. I feel like. What made you put that one together on the new side? I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah, I was just trying to get the most cone area and be able to supply it with the power. I was able to get cone area no issue, but then I was running into problems with price to power it with the amplifier. I was originally going to throw a smart 3K or an RP 2K on there, but it was either 215s that only had a thermal of like 5 to 1,000 watts compared to, 1,000 watts RMS to a little bit more, and then a little bit smaller amplifier. More of like, this is a system that you can actually go out and buy, hook up, and you can almost clip it to poop and you'll be okay. If you would run 215s, it'd be like that situation with the 415s that you posted, those used ones, where you might overdrive the speakers. And I didn't want to do that. Okay, we love SPL, but at the same time, we want it to sound good musically and, sound good on just everything. I feel like this was a good setup, not just kicker in general, but any kind of subwoofer that would cost around this price is usually a 12 or a 10-inch subwoofer. So with the thermal handling you're getting and the power that you're able to apply with an enclosure afterwards, $1,000, that ain't bad. I tell a lot of people, to get that loud, realistically, you're looking at $1,500 to $2,000 to get started. Now, these amplifiers aren't the most efficient. They do pull the power. But I've seen them done on stock electrical. As long as you have a nice 0-gauge run, you'll be okay. And with these drivers that don't really require that much power, I think it's a win-win. Big box, you'll be set.
Heck yeah. I feel like that's a good one also. Yeah, for sure. And one thing, sorry, I think we have our other guy. What, he popping in? But
yeah.
Oh, did he leave? I didn't see him pop out. But that's a crazy one. So yeah, as aforementioned, those kicker subs for the price right there, $140 for a 15, dude. That's a whole lot of sub for the money and a lot of quality with it. Like they have a lot of good parts going those, and they're the double stitch surround, all that jazz. I feel like that would be a great one to use the audio pipe on for a while, and then obviously look up and upgrading later, and it's going to get somebody. I don't see why that could be easily 140 plus dB on stock electrical. Yeah, for sure.
Easy. Yeah, I had two of those, but the 12s. and I had them on a KX, or not the KX, the KAC 9104D, the Kenwood. I had that amp for years till someone stole it out of my car. I had two of them that were matching. It was a nice little daily budget setup that I had for a long time. But I had two of those Walmart kickers, but the comps, but I had them in a huge box. I was doing 142s, 143s on like 400 watts. So running 415s of that, it's not bad.
Oh, sure.
Definitely gets down.
I feel like that would be a good one, yeah. And that's I was going back before. Now mine was the black and yellow one, but yeah, the Kicker Comp 10 was the first subwoofer I actually went to Best Buy and bought one brand new, and I thought it was just killing it back then. I think I showed you that one last week. I'm gonna go Kicker off my first new one off the rip too. So I'm gonna go with 6 of the Kicker Comp 10s, and the Orion XTR, and I feel like, and I didn't want to go full all tear amps or all audio pipe on those. I feel like the Orion, I've done a couple of these for customers, the XTRs, and they've done really well. I've got a buddy that just put one in his BMW too, and I did the 4-channel and the mono amp, and it's actually slamming in his old X3. I feel like for cone area and watt per dollar, and I think that goes back to the same thing on yours is, you're not going to be worried about overdriving these because A, you're wiring a bunch of subs up, so you're going to have the rise from the connections, and then B, the impedance rise. I feel like your kicker setup, and then with the audio pipe and the kicker here with the Orion, I feel like somebody's going to be able to beat on these for extended amounts of time, and then not have to be worried about overdrawing the subwoofer or frying one or cooking the amp or going to protect or anything like that. And both these can just be wired at one, and both amps should be fine at that.
Heck yeah.
I chose the do the own box on this one, but I feel like what do you think about the 610s? I thought that was gonna be kind of nifty around 1500 watts. That should probably get down.
Right. Yeah, I heard good things about the XTR Orions. Not so much on the Street Series, but definitely the XTRs and obviously the red ones, the way underrated Orions. But yeah, 610s, man. I think that's pretty close to the 415s. I think about, let me think, 610s. What's that? 100 square inches, not even. Yeah, about 500-600 square inches of it's about 412 kickers, 610s. That's a lot of cone area, man.
Touche.
You'll be moving.
You probably beat me on the 415s. You probably beat me on that one, but
dude, that's when I run the lanes between Mecca and Team SP Loud. You either see 215s or 415s. Otherwise, it's a wall, and then they can just do a bunch of whatever. It seems like it's just a common number to go with. You know what I mean? For the cone area and the size of the vehicle with the setup that you have.
Oh, for sure. Let's see, keep moving forward. We got that. Boom. We got the Scar SDR. You're just going 415s, killing it. Again, and this is one thing I want to think about but good choice on that one too. We got the Smart 3K and 4 of these SDR 12s. What would you throw this guy together?
Right. Yeah, this was a tough one because I was going to go down the Sundown route, but then the Sundown were about $150 more per 15, even for the SAs, and I didn't really want to go with the E's because of the power handling, but I'm not too sure on Scar how their power handling is. I know it's not drastically underrated like Sundown where you can throw another 50% at it and it'll take it all day, but I wanted something where I could fit that Terra amp in there. I think those were 109. Yeah, they were actually cheaper than the kickers, higher RMS, but it needed more power. So I figured, okay, that's perfect. We can throw the Terramp 3K on there. So if someone, I don't want kicker, I want something that has more X Max, more surround, more cool. Here you go.
Oh, for sure. I've had a couple of buddies or seen customers have the SDRs installed, and for the money, they're fine. I'm sure they could take the 1200, and I feel like I'm confident at the Smart 3K on 4 of those, it's going to be another one of those you can beat on it and beat on it and beat on it. It's probably going to last and have some good longevity on it. And again, that's going to be a larger of a displacement woofer inside the box, so you're probably going to be wanting a bigger box to begin with. So it's going to be one of those good things. Get your enclosure built in your car, and have your good upgrade path, man. You'd be banging for a good while on a Smart 3K. You probably do a big 3 and just do an upgraded battery, probably be halfway okay or something like that. I don't know.
Right, yeah, because the full bridge designs are a tad bit more efficient, I think. I mean, efficient as in how much power they're pulling compared to how much power they're giving you, efficient. But, I mean, it's still a 3,000-watt amplifier, so you got to have something to power the darn thing.
For sure. That's a good choice, though, man. I like that one.
Thank you.
So I had to go. I had a little brand preference here, you know. I had to throw mine. I didn't even use our 20% coupon on there, but I think I could have done it. But at $250 a piece, I feel like they're a banging deal. The subwoofer is my Power Hog ones, and it's got a 170 ounce magnet. It's a reconable subwoofer. That's one thing. I don't think any of these subs in here, and maybe the Kicker L7s, have been reconable subwoofers. So again, under $1,000 price point, get you into brand new subs. It can be reconed, and we've got the Audio Pipe 2K. I feel like 215s on the 2K under at $1,000 price point. 250 you build your own box. You could probably cut some corners and get a little bit on that. I feel like it's a pretty banging setup.
Heck yeah! Tell me more about the subs now. When you say the recone, is that just like you sell the spare drop-ins for that? You just glue, boom, you're done, shim.
Yeah, I mean, we can just go ahead. I'll just go and dunk her in here. There, yeah, the Power Hog sub, man, the Hog One here, boom. It's a 15 boy here. It's got a aluminum basket, all that jazz, 170 ounce magnet, and she's a pretty sub. I mean, you're getting a lot of sub for the money.
Heck
And,
yeah, 3-inch coil.
Yeah, it's a 3-inch voice coil, and not only that, again, as aforementioned, you got a drop-in recone kit. Boom, it bolts in. You did a little glue ring for the spider landing, and you put the bolts in it, and then you glue the surround.
Oh no way! That's awesome.
Entry-level subwoofer there. So stop throwing your stuff in the trash can. That's something to think about too. Whenever you buy these other subs, is if you kill it, is it a paperweight or can you just put parts back in it?
Right. Now, do you still have to shim that since the bolts kind of line up with the spider landing?
We still ship them without the dust caps on them, and we do recommend using shims because at least when you're still in the gluing process like that way it does. If anything's settling when you're gluing stuff like that, if you don't have it shimmed, you can have something that won't even be relevant until you're at almost at X max or past X max.
Gotcha. Right. You won't notice till it's too late.
Yeah, and then you can just dead short. I mean, I think we talked about before in our case. You can dead short a coil pretty much and blow a hole through it.
Right.
But so yeah, it's easy enough just to take it and put it in there, go ahead and shim it while you're doing it, and if you're going to be doing the recon, it takes you a whole another 10 seconds to slide the whole paper in there.
That's awesome. Now, what's it rated at? Sorry, what's it rated at?
1,000 watts. 1,000 watts conservatively RMS, but all
definitely
reality
conservative. Yeah.
On that guy though, man, all reality too. I had one in my excursion before we put the wall in it. I had it in that 15 box I had the picture of on the website, and I had it on 2 channels bridged to my 4 channels. I was getting like a whole maybe 200 watts maybe. And we put another one in a customer's car on like 500 watts RMS. Sounded fantastic. So as long as you're not really underpowering, you're going to lose some of the low end response, underpowering it, but it's super musical when no matter what you do at it. I mean, it was bumping my excursion pretty good on just 2 channels bridged on my 4 channel.
That's awesome.
We got that, boom, going with it. So we finally went with little big boy stuff. So we got a 18-inch the Sundown here.
Yeah, I don't think the picture's right, but it's a Sundown 18U. I figured I'd go with that instead of the SA, get a little bit more power handling out of it. And I think that's the Audio Pipe.
1500
is it the 2K or 1500?
1500.
Okay. Right. Yet again, another underpowering situation, but something of more, okay, I want a big subwoofer and I don't have all the power in the world. Here you go, run that. Plus, I heard good things about the U's between where they're a little bit SPL, but a little bit of sound quality as well. Where they're like lighter drivers and they can still handle pretty good power. The only thing bad I heard about them was the baskets. And I have a good friend that's been having issues and another friend that had issues. So that's the only thing I heard about the U's. Otherwise, awesome drivers.
They are pretty good. I've had a customer and a friend of mine too. He's got 415s in it, and he's reconned his a couple of times. But I haven't heard anything about negative about the baskets. But that's gonna be a banging setup though, man. I've done a single 18 setup multiple times, and that'll get that subwoofer moving, man. Now, obviously, you can do an upgrade. I think that would be a good one if you want to buy one U15 or 18, to begin with, have it bumping, and then while you're stacking your bread up to get a second one, and then more power to do both of them with. And so, I mean, I feel like that'd be to get somebody basing now and go further with that. So that's gonna be an awesome one, man. That's a good choose on that one. And going here, I never heard of these subs, or I mean, I know Death Bounce. I've never seen these perform or had anybody had them, but I saw the Machete Death Bounces and 15s at $150 a pop. And
wow.
Yeah, exactly. So like, let's do 2 of them bad boys, $300, and another Audio Pipe 2K, and you'd be $800 into it. I feel like this one though. I mean, those look like pretty ballsy for a stamped steel basket. But it's got a pretty high roll surround on it and a double slug magnet. I feel like for on the 2K and under $1,000, including the box, I feel like that'd be probably pretty banging.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good deal. 215s with that. I wonder what kind of RMS rating, maybe like 800
It
watts
said
or
800 watts,
1000.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. See, good guess.
The
You can only get so much for the money you're paying. So, but still, I mean, all day that should be okay on that RP or the Audio Pipe 2K.
coming from a manufacturer standpoint, man, like there's a lot of good stuff on the subwoofer. See, where the cost was cut was, and this was using a stamped steel basket, and that's not always a bad thing. So you still get good pole venting and stuff like that in it. But if you see you got nice terminals, you got a high round surround. I mean, high roll surround. It's not stitched, but I can get a lower power sub. Not too worried. They got the rubber gasket on it, and I mean that's gonna make a nice seal. And I mean I feel like it's a pretty ballsy sub for $150. I probably would rather have that than other reference brands. A few of them, but I feel like that one's good, man. So I thought that was that there's 12 slides there. That's 6 used and 6 new setups you can buy for under $1,000, Andy. I feel like that's a lot of stuff you can do for the money, man. And that's just we threw that together in a little time. If a guy wanted to stick some time into it and do some shopping around, I feel like you could come up with some crazy stuff. But we'll deep dive into it now. What do you do? We'll start off with amplifiers. If I'm going to buy a used amp, and how do you go about do you want to test this thing before you pay this guy, or are you going to check it out, or I'm sure you bought used amps. What have you been burned before? What's up?
Yeah, I have some horror stories. But yeah, otherwise, usually I get an amp and the guy has it hooked up. I'm like, hey, that's the first thing I ask. Hey, are you using this amp or is it collecting dust? That's the number one question you want to ask. Okay, yeah, I still got it in my car. If you want to hear it, check it out, whatever. So then you don't really have to worry so much. You can either meet up with them. Darn fire trucks, jeez.
It's fine, yeah.
You can either meet up with them or he can come to your place, whatever. It's not a big deal. Now, whenever it comes down to, oh, well, it's my old amp, I'm upgrading, but I have whatever, then it comes down to how well do you know the guy? And if you don't know him so well, it's like, well, okay, I have this car, can I throw it in there to make sure it works? And then if a guy says no, that should be a red flag right there. So you kind of want to ask these questions. I'm sure but for the people listening, whenever if they are, that's kind of something that you want to get a nice basis of, because I've had some situations where guys have even showed me products in person working, and they kind of tricked me. It was like a car salesman, polishing up the scratches on the car before you come and look at it. And if you look at it then, it looks okay till you wash the car, then you see all these scratches. I had a guy where I bought an L7 off of him and some amp he was just giving to me for free, so there was no need to test it. And I didn't know till I went to go pick it up. I'm like, oh, thanks, man, appreciate it. And this was for another $150 build for my friend's sister, Nikki. And so I go there, I meet up with a guy, and it was a L712 in a sealed box, and he's playing it, but he had 212s in the back too. And he had this one just sitting in the back seat, which should have been a red flag right there. So he's bumping it, he's playing it. He seemed like an older guy, nice guy, whatever. And he's like, you sure you don't want this amp? Like, he even gave me options. He's like, do you want this amp or this amp? I'm like, I'll take the Pioneer. I don't even know what that is, even though you think that has more power. It doesn't matter. So he's playing it, and it sounded okay. And I'm watching the sub go, making bass. I should have been like, hey, unhook your other subs. Because when I took it home, I put it on my little test bench, just battery and an amp at the time, and it was playing fine, but it had this god-awful rub. I'm like, oh no, is it the amplifier?
Yeah.
So I unhook it, I check the terminals, it's still reading okay, and I put it in another car, and I check it out, I'm like, oh no, it's not the amplifier, it's the sub, it's definitely rubbing, like what's going on? And thank goodness I had my buddy Seth build it for me, rebuild it, because he actually knows how to rebuild L7s. And those are actually really hard to do from his side of it, saying that, they got tight gaps and whatnot. But yeah, I had to get that redone, and I was kind of upset. And that's where I took, like, oh yeah, this guy seems okay. It seems like it's an okay product, but the price was too good. $70 for an L712. That's
touche.
Right.
Too good to be true sometimes it is.
I don't know if he actually knew it was blown, because if you play it all together and you put it in the back of your trunk, you can't tell. but I'm
Sure.
not going to give somebody that product that paid me money to get a system in, regardless how much they paid.
No, I agree completely. Yeah, that's a good one, man. Now, luckily, I'm gonna knock on some wood. I haven't been burned on buying a used subwoofer, and but luckily, and more times than not, in my adult years, buying a used one is something that I specifically look out for or seek out myself, and you usually buying for somebody reputable or something like that. I've gotten lucky on that. Amplifiers, though, I've gotten burned, and I think one thing we touched base, a few things to look for. If you see an amp that's got missing screw terminals out of it, okay,
Mm.
that's one thing. Boom. Another thing, if you got a 2-channel or a 4-channel amplifier and it's got the only the outer screws loosened on it, or if there only has the outer screws on it, you can pretty much guess that amplifier's been bridged. Only
Right.
probably. The another thing I try to look what the gains are set at an amplifier when you buy it. Do you ever take a gainer of those? I've bought quite a few amps, and they're just fucking cranked when you get them. I didn't mean to curse to there, but I mean, I've bought Rockford amps from reputable people and get them, and the gain will be pretty much almost maxed out. And you're like, what were you doing with this? But
I was just turning the volume all the way up.
yeah,
That's
you're just
all.
checking it out. Yeah,
Huh.
test it. But yeah, so that's one thing I try to look for. If it has any kind of localized water damage, covered in freaking dust. Okay, like generally speaking, and even it comes to like the old school amps, if somebody is taking the time that they want to sell it, especially for a premium, one of those a used amplifier, you better clean that suck. I want that thing looking as clean as you can get it, okay? And that's the one I'm going to make me pay the money for it. If you got somebody, they got this thing that looks like it's been in their garage for 4 years and got a layer of dust on it, I don't know, man.
They're
The
not even trying.
Oh, for
I
sure.
God.
And I see a lot of that too, man. Like and just like before, and I'm not gonna look at it and show the guy's name or whatever. Where's the kicker one? Boom. This guy, you and I both know if he probably cleaned this stuff, he just on this kicker stuff, they probably sell pretty quick and just took good photos of them. You could do some beauty photos, cleaned up, stuff like that. A lot of these guys would sell stuff a lot quicker of the used guys. But yeah, amplifiers though. The surrounds, obviously, make sure you're checking your surrounds. Taking at least if you can, bring a multimeter with you. Like a lot of these subs will say the part number on the bottom of them. You can usually just take and put them on it, ohms and impedance, and take and check out and see if it's at least really close to what it's rated at. You're gonna have some. Obviously, if you measure any speaker, you're gonna have some variance and stuff like that, high or low, depending on it. But it's a good way to check. It saved me before a lot of time a multimeter can take and see if you're getting something good or not. And if a man knows what he's doing, you can even kind of test an amplifier with a multimeter.
Yep. Test the outputs, test the power and the negative, and see if there's a complete circuit. If there's not, then you got an issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Exactly. That's what I should have said. Yeah, the multimeter is your number one tool in car audio, man. It really is. You can use it for so many things. It's insane. But like you said, you got to kind of know what you're doing to test amplifiers. That's why it's always tough. And it's nice to have a car where, your stuff is, right there. You can just
mm-hmm.
pull apart your setup. Okay, let me tap into this in. Okay, this amp works great. That's why I liked the Volvo that I had. Everything was just kind of laying there and I could just test and throw in different stuff and it was great. But that car isn't running anymore, so
For
it's
sure.
like, well, hey, do you want to come over to my house? I got
Yeah, let me test
everything.
this. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's one thing I love about, especially now that I have it in the back. Now I'll have the excursions have the batteries right in the back. I just get a 4 gauge or something like that with a ring terminal on it. You just got boom, boom, boom remote right there and RCA's, so it's not too
Right.
bad. And that's one thing I just want to reiterate with people: make sure you're trying to test this stuff. And I know sometimes you can't, but I mean, if generally speaking, if you can get a multimeter, do that. If you can plug up your own stuff, do that. And just like Andy was saying earlier, if somebody is hesitant on letting you test it or doesn't want to let you test it or anything like that, or don't even buy it. It's not worth your time. There's so many deals come and go. We threw together those 6 used ones. How take you maybe 30, 40. It took me longer to throw the photos together and put the text on it than it took me to find
Exactly.
those.
I see that stuff all the time. That's why a lot of people come to me. They're like, "Hey, can you find me a system?" And if it's not local, I do look on Marketplace, but like you said, that's a hit or miss, man, and you got to bring the test equipment like we were just saying. Otherwise, it's a shot in the dark, and that's the whole concept of this new versus used,
Mm-hmm.
where you don't have to worry about that if you buy new, long as you buy from a good company that has good, warranty policies and return exchanges. Like eBay, that's a hit or miss too. You know what I mean? Because
For
sometimes they'll
sure.
sell it new, but then they don't take returns. but they'll give you eBay money. It's just a whole nother. Just buy from the company itself as much as you can, or like a trusted third party dealer, like
Exactly, like
Touchfield or
a
whatever.
big name
Right.
one that has. And, that's the biggest thing too. Is a lot of times when you're buying from third party, you're not, if you have to do a warranty issue, it's not really you're not getting a warranty from just use for let's say you buy X brand that's Ketter and Crutchfield. They're not going to the manufacturer and doing that. They buy X amount of them a year, and they have X amount of loss. Already figured they're going to take care of your stuff. If you're buying it from some storage you've never heard of, especially on whether it be Amazon or eBay or anything like that, and good luck getting a warranty return on that. Now, luckily on the amplifiers, a lot of times you have a manufacturer warranty that you can do, but if you cook a sub, generally speaking, good luck getting an authorized retailer off eBay or Amazon to be warranting that guy out for you, especially if it's not a manufacturer defect.
User error. User error. Exactly. And that's what's pretty cool about Kicker, because like they do take those warranties, but you have to pay for the shipping and a small cost for the product. And they can quote fix your driver, and what they do is they take your old driver, they gut it, they rebuild it, and then they send it as like a B stock. And a lot of companies do that, but you're still paying a little bit of price whenever it's user error. But their techs are so smart, they know, okay, this was from a high voltage rail shorting out or something like that, or this is from lack of electrical, but that's almost like the same thing, or this is from over excursion. That's a physical problem where we tested it over and over. Otherwise, yeah, you're kind of short out of luck. But then if it's like something stupid where like a part of the back of the cone or part of the spider, the glue's coming undone or the leads come off, stuff like that, where it's like pretty much from like the people that make the product, didn't do it quite so right. And that's understandable. It really is. But hey,
I think I'm not seeing the Facebook comments.
Did you stream on Facebook and
I
YouTube?
did. I'm seeing it when I'm on Facebook, but what's up, Hi-Fi is chiming in on the Facebook side. But one thing that I think we didn't touch base on as far as the other stuff too is I think, especially buying from the manufacturer and preaching again on Kicker, which we keep going back to, is when they see the warranty returns or the repairs, these big name companies, they're going to be making revisions on products and making these things better. And I think that's one thing we don't think about also with the, buying the other companies or other brand deals is when they're seeing these returns, like you're seeing the failures, and they know what they're from, and they can tell you, hey, this was caused by that. Companies like Kicker or other reputable brands you've heard of and have had a name in the industry. Oh man, I'm taking the. Oops, I'm taking open my phone there, but a lot of manufacturers, they're just pumping out, units. They're not going to be taking, hey, we're seeing a lot of these circuit, boards fail from X amount of things happening. They're not going to be taking and making the revisions to the product to make sure that doesn't happen. So that's one thing too, when you're buying the reputable brands and the companies, you make sure that you're going to be getting a product. Just the Kicker, look, dude, I know for a fact you can go around and buy used Kicker amps on Facebook, and then if it's blown, you can, for the most part, if it's like under 15 years old, you get that thing fixed for like pennies on the dollar from Kicker. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be practical to do that all the time, but go find some of these other small brand amplifiers that it could be blown in like that. You're not going to get that thing fixed from anybody, especially if it's at a lower price point.
Right. Yeah, 75 to about $100, depending how bad it is. If it's just simple parts, simple capacitors, yeah, you're looking at like $75, $90. That's it, and that's with shipping. You can't beat it. I know my local amp repair guy, Kevin Mansky. It's $50 for a small amp. Plus, I'm driving out there and picking it up, so I don't have to pay for shipping. But anything pretty decent size, you're paying $150, $200, $300 for like a 2, 4, 8K amplifier to be repaired. It's insane. But yeah,
I've gotten into that too. And I think one thing we haven't touched base on also, speaking of base, that's a no pun intended on that one, but sometimes buying used amplifiers, you don't know the quality and condition things seen as life before, especially when you get into buying bigger amplifiers. I bought a Rockford T3000 and I bought it with a pair of T215s. I'm like, this is my dream setup and all that. And I get there and the guy's like, yeah, I ran this in my Toyota 4Runner, and like it would run the battery so low that like the engine would cut off and stuff like that. And like, he just drove it like that for a long period of time. I was like, man, yeah, it would just kill the truck literally, and like it's probably like, yeah, like it just been hearing bassing forever. And like you and I both know this amplifier that I like lusted and yearned after, that I finally got my hands on, and I'm paying this guy, and he's telling me pretty much it's been undervolted its entire life probably. And then it sat in your garage. You're like, and that one actually exploded and caught on fire in my truck. So it's kind of like something to duly noted to think of also when you're buying, especially these larger power amplifiers. The catching on fire was my own fault though. So I had the T2s that came with it also. And I've been demoing it all day at a local show after I comped and all that stuff too. I've just been handing out plates full of demo like I do. And I thought something sounded funny. And the amp went in protect mode. And so I unplugged. I didn't have my handy dandy multimeter with me. So I took and unplugged both the subs and plugged one in. Okay, I turned the radio back on. The amp wasn't protect. Plugged one sub back in. It was good. I'm like, it's got to be this other sub is going to be blown. I'm going to plug it back in and see if it goes back into protect mode. And I plugged it back in. And as soon as I dropped the knob, it literally exploded and caught on fire in the car, the power supply section, like literally just dead shorted in the amp. And,
I thought you were joking about the whole catching on fire thing.
No, it literally caught on fire. Yeah, dead shorted, and it was fusing and everything. The power supply section of the board caught on fire.
Wow.
And I was terrified. I was at the whole show the rest of the day thinking my truck was going to burn down. Then, actually, you can ask Casey. There's a guy getting a demo when that happened, dude.
Isn't it funny? That's when it usually happens. Someone else is in the car with you.
Yeah, so I had this random guy, and it was loud when it popped too. I don't know if it's a capacitor popped or what, but it was loud. And
yeah, probably, or just 12-volt hitting ground from your amplifier, from your main run, from your alternator. I don't know. That's crazy, man. I never had an amp blow up like that, other than my Shark, but it kind of just did a little sizzle and a little bit of smoke and cut the wires before anything got bad.
The Shark died? I didn't know then.
Yeah, the Shark 35. I had it it lasted a long time, about 2.5, 3 years, and crappy electrical. I mean, stock alternator, a couple AGMs, I saw 11.8s, 11.5s, 12.5, full tilt boogie kind of thing. But most of the time, 13 volts, as long as I wasn't clipping. That was the thing. I was clipping a lot. But yeah, as soon as I got that bigger enclosure, I had less rise. I was only wired at 1. But then whenever I played 14 hertz and my buddy Andrew was in the car and I was kind of going two full tilt and trying to get his hair going. He had like no hair, so it was like kind of hard. And I'm going and all I hear is pop. I'm like, uh-oh, what was that? And the amp's right behind me. Yeah, I was like, oh no, but my voltage was only like 12 something. I mean, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't like 10 volts or something crazy. But looking at it now, by testing it, my impedance was at about 2 ohms, times 2 from 1. Didn't really have much impedance rise there. And playing that long frequency with that much power and not enough, I guess, maybe amperage pull, the batteries couldn't supply it enough and the voltage was too low. I'm not sure. But each amp inside are strapped, so each amp saw like 1 ohm. And crappy electrical 14 hertz and years of abuse. It was just its time. I got it on its shelf. I got it on the wall, signed by my buddy Soda Pop. You might have heard of him, Donald Wilson. He's a competitor. He's been competing for at least 20 years now, give or take. Old school bass head, and or maybe longer. Yeah, about 20 years. But he's been into car audio since like the 90s. So
wow,
Right. Yeah, he's like 50, 53, 54. He's up there. Yeah. He's still doing it, man. He still competes in Mecca. He's got he had 812 Soundstream, Tarantula, I'm not sure which ones. They're like the big 4-inch coil, X-Max monster type deal things. And he switched back from those to the American based HDs. HD's had a 3-inch coil, lighter driver, lighter suspension, more efficient. He went from 58 back up to his normal 61.4, 61.5s.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, he's clamping a buku amount of power, too. He has 8 teraamp 8Ks, and he has each one wired at half ohm, and they're the 1 ohm stables. So, but he has 180 amp of lithium of the C-Max and 4 diesel dolly alternators up front. He likes the diesel alternators compared to your regular aftermarket high output alternator because they do more at idle.
I could see that.
Yeah. Yeah, he's sitting at like 15.8, 15.9 volts, And he was having issues last show too because something with his fuel regulator or his fuel pump, something relay, anytime he burped full tilt, man, the whole car just shut off, and
Oh
then he couldn't
wow.
start the car. There was no gas, so he wound up having to do his park and pound with just battery, and he was able to get a 134. His usual score is like 135, so he's got more than enough battery bank to be banging.
That's the big difference going from the AGM to the lithium deal. And he could probably run that on the lithium for a little while before he actually dip down into 12s after a concert like
Right,
that.
right. It's
The
insane.
That was crazy because I went from 560 amp hour of excess power AGM to the 40 amp hour lithium. Even it being 12-volt AGM, I'll instantly be sucking down below 12 volts after I put a load on it. And the lithium was nice because it sat where I charged it at, and
Right.
it still took a minute. And even when I did the purple truck install with the 6 Hog 215s, and he had an 80 amp hour lithium bank in the back, and we were able to do a lot of testing just on his battery, if without having to crank the truck, but do basic setup and all that stuff. And
Right.
going back to it, I haven't had any American based setup. I know a lot of people get in the entry level stuff with or start out with American based, and they make some pretty crazy stuff.
Right. When I first got into car audio and I saw American bass, I'm like, oh yeah, that's junk, pawn shop stuff. I'm like, that's no good. Never heard of that. They're actually pretty
Mm-hmm.
good. I'm friends with Bob and everything, and on Facebook and stuff. See him as Samology, and it's good stuff. I built a nice setup for my buddy J.R. McMullen, that lives down the street,
Mm-hmm.
and got him into car audio heavy, too heavy. He's louder than me now, and he has two American bass X Max monsters in an 8 cubic foot box with a 10-inch arrow on 1 Tera 12K half ohm stable. And he's
Oh
wired at
wow,
half ohm. Yeah, he's clamping around 62 to 6,300 watts and doing a 54 at the kick, 53 something at the headrest at 36 or 38 hertz in a Scion TC
that's pretty
hatchback,
impressive.
no wall. Yeah, it works.
I figured I'd go and pull it up. It's some of these for budget bangers. Casey actually had one of these Rockville Destroyers for a
I've heard
while.
good things about him. I've
Yeah, he
heard,
put one
yeah.
in his girlfriend Kaylin's car. This before it went Rockville Destroyer, then it went Resilient Sounds Gold, and then now it's got a Hog 2 in it. That's a pretty massive sub for $300.
Right.
The Oh wow, look at the brand B right there. That's kind
I
of
know, man.
oh
Come on,
wow, come
man. Come on.
on. That would be something Rockville would do in a marketing. The base package though, going back to your SDR, dude, $220 for two SDRs, a pair of them. That's a lot. So, dude, is that the same price you found for the pair of them, or no? You went four.
Yeah, I think I went 415s. Yeah, I think they were 139, 109 a piece. I think they were cheaper than, well, that's about the same. That's 109 for the 12. Yeah, I
I've seen
forget where
these.
yeah,
I saw customers buy these, the Punisher. The
Punishers.
yeah, I'm kind of curious to see on something like that though for a $200 sub,
I just wish
175.
they would rate their stuff better. It's like
Yeah.
if Boss Audio made bigger drivers and they still kept their max ratings
Well, like our
kind
buddy
of thing.
Hi-Fi, man, he took and he had the shootout, the 12 shootout, and it took and the Rockville at the time was I think the loudest for the efficiency for like for the watts or whatever, if I remember
Right.
correctly.
Right. Yeah, they're not super huge coils. They're not super overly dampened drivers of your nice daily setup, but a few people just got their hands on them that had, 3,000 watts and they're like, "Oh, this is a 1,500 RMS subwoofer. This should handle it." And it won't. It's going to handle 5, 6, 700 RMS continuously, and that's about it. I mean, for the K9 at least. I'm not sure about the Punisher or the other one.
I think I would rather have either one of those than I'm not going to knock the Soundstream here, but one thing when I'm looking for subs, I don't want to see is a big plastic cover on the back to cover the motor.
Right. Yeah, you can't even access that either because of the basket. It's kind of like how the Kicker L7s are. They're all one. You can't really separate the basket from the motor. That's the
I think
only
that's a
downfall
cap.
on
I
those.
bet you this is a cap that comes off and it's going to be hiding a small motor.
Oh, like the bosses.
Yeah, it'll be something like that. That's how I found the Def Bounce right there. Those were good. We already talked about the EVL is decent. How about $220 on a Dayton? I bet you this is a musical driver for $220. A 15 reference. It looks clean.
I've heard of Dayton from their DSPs, but I never heard of their drivers or anything else.
Well, they do an insane amount of of home audio stuff. You know, Dayton's the Parts Express house brand, and
Oh, really?
yeah,
Okay.
and they make some insane product, man. Now, I would say, and this is when I was a wee lad, and I think I remember getting as a kid getting the Parts Express catalogs and drivers that you can actually see people get a book, and it'd be of like the raw drivers and stuff they would sell. And at the time, I remember being younger, and I remember not thinking terribly highly about the Dayton stuff. But to all of their product now, I'm not gonna lie, they have some crazy stuff. And if you look at their home stuff too, they got some insane stuff. Going back up, I had 180 bucks. It looks like that's actually. I wish I would have took more time and a deep dive into speakers for the market for 15s. That's a lot of stuff for 150 bucks or 180 bucks right there.
Heck yeah, is that XFL or is that the American base? I think that's just like
Base
their
Titan. It
XD
says Base Titan 15.
base Titan. That's something new there because I know they had the XD series. Let's see, 1500 RMS. Oh, that's something new there.
I'm unsure on that one.
That's bigger than their XFLs, if that's what I'm seeing right.
It's crazy to see the difference in like now. Obviously, there's not going to be compared, but so this for 200 or 299 versus just a little bit less. That's. I bet
It's
you these
nuts.
JLs sound great musically, but you and I both know that's probably like a single 70-ounce slug or something like that under that.
Right. It's you're paying for the name. You can't lie. You're paying for the name. You're paying for more of quality control, I guess, so that you get a better product, I guess. To shoot, what else? Efficiency,
Probably gonna sound
sound
great, yeah.
quality.
Episode's
Right,
gonna sound great.
right. Yeah, that's what JL really shoots and strives for is that sound quality because the W6 is louder than the W7. Everyone wants the W7, but the W6 is more SPL oriented. You
Yeah, for
know,
sure. I've got a
yeah.
W712 that I need to get reconed.
I reconed one. I had to. Well, I just refoamed it. I didn't have to recone it. But they are some weird looking drivers, man. When you take that dust cap off, it's got a whole nother dome underneath and everything. And
Look at
whenever
this
you,
honking boy.
what's that?
199 is another Dayton sub.
Dayton.
That's a triple stack slug there and a cat stamp steel basket. I bet you that gets down.
Jeez, how much do they want for that? Like 150 something?
199 from Parts Express.
That's
But
not
if you
too
buy it
bad.
from I don't want to get tongue tied. There's 260 from another retailer. Oh wow.
Jeez.
When I got into P3, when I got back into car audio, as far as my first setup, I bought a bunch of P3s. I bought a P3, then bought another P3, and then I bought a third P3. And I didn't. I ended up not doing the three P3 box, and then that's when I went to 410s. There was a great musical subwoofer going back to efficiency and stuff, man. Like I don't think you can go wrong in picking the
Darn
rocks and
sure.
stuff.
Heck yeah,
These are
dude! They even take the power, man. I had two 15 P2s. I never had a P3. I had two P215s, and I kind of just held on to them and then sold them eventually. And I gave one some thermal handling to see how much it could handle, not really knowing what I was doing. I was trying to learn how to build a fourth order, but turns out 1-to-1 ratios are really meant for bandpass and not so much SPL. But it still worked, but nonetheless, I gave it a little bit too much power. I had that motor at like 210 degrees. It
oh
was so
wow.
hot, and it did no problems, man. And I had it like hot like that for a long time. They
Hmm.
put some decent resin on their coils, I'll tell you that, man. They had it hot.
You ever dealt with any of these blue old power acoustic guys here, the mofos?
Okay, yep.
The
Walmart. I think they used to have them at Walmart. Yeah.
not the 15s. I don't think. I don't think they
No,
have the.
12s. Yeah, they
But
got the regular power acoustic. Yeah, right.
the I had one of these on a Alpine MRV 500
Right.
and in a Fiesta ST, and it was a sloppy subwoofer, but this thing hammered some lows out. Now I did have it in a crappy Prefab 15 box, but at
Right.
the time this sub surprised me on the lows. Now I had the same P3 that I ended up throwing into the excursion light I was talking about, so it was kind of cool at the time. Dipping my toes back into car audio and being able to tell the difference of like, hey, my P3 is a lot more musical, but man, this thing hammers some lows. And I think this is one of the first subs that I had that actually I could get around, and start playing some lower frequencies with some authority.
I've heard nothing but good things from them, and the main source I have is that Soda guy. He strives up and down, man. He's like, that was like my first nice setup with my power acoustic Bofos. I had four 15s and a flat wall doing like a 51, 52, and this was like years ago.
Uh huh.
So he was like, oh yeah, they're nothing to mess with. I think he had them on some SL amps or SPL. I forget. It was like the cool audio, but the same brand, just a different name. Um, SLS Soundstream. Yeah, might have been Soundstream because I think Soundstream owns a couple different brands.
Hmm. I can see that.
Right.
The let's do this. Boom. That's pretty crazy. There's a few of these guys in here I haven't seen at all. Let's do 80 to 150. Boom. We go back to the Punisher. That's a thick boy looking 10 for 150 bucks.
Definitely meaty.
You see a lot of these companies use this same stamp steel basket, but I'd be willing to bet. I saw these at an audio wholesale place where I was getting stuff for I was picking up some power wire. I was actually looking at this whole Soundstream lineup out in the box, and they actually look pretty nice. I didn't think anything bad about these for the price point. I bet you throw at $100 a piece, tens, four tens in a box, something like that. I bet you they'd sound pretty damn good. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of digging that the
That
cone on that
surround.
guy. Yeah,
Yeah,
it looks like she's got some throw. Now I wouldn't be doing any kind of crazy, amount of inverted with these guys, but from the front side, I mean that's a dang good looking sub.
heck yeah, dude. Definitely impressive looking. Definitely.
There's my first sub I ever bought new right there.
Comp C. That's a good driver, man. It's a couple
Yeah,
dollars more than the entry comp, and it has twice the power handling.
yeah. Got her at Best Buy, I believe. I want to say that's the one I bought at Best Buy, but it was a great sub, man.
Heck
It
yeah.
seems weird to me now seeing single voice coil subwoofers.
Right.
Frequent.
Dude, I hate it. It's like I only can wire one way or, instead of three ways.
That looks pretty impressive. The Harmony audio, dude. I can't lie. So I don't know if you watched Big D. He dynoed that one Harmony audio amp. It did good. My Excursion. When I got my Excursion, if you literally go to Amazon, type in Ford Excursion speakers, it's gonna pull up like a 4-pack of Harmony audio 5x7s. Right? They're like 30 something dollars. I'm not lying. There's still Harmony audio speakers in my second and third row of the Excursion on head unit power, and they sound fine. I bet you some of these Harmony audio stuff probably get down.
Heck yeah, dude. I seen Derek's video, and then I think I seen Parker. He did a video
Mm-hmm.
too, but on the drivers, and I think he just got bum drivers. Like they were blown as soon as he got them. I wouldn't even have done a review on it. I would have been like,
Yeah.
hey, yeah, we got some bum drivers, had to wait a week. Here are the new ones. Let's test these out, see how they really sound. But I think they were entry anyway.
Probably
So
so.
yeah, because those ones definitely weren't the ones you just shown. Those were meaty.
I bet you this Infinity Kappa sub over. That's another one. It's $100 sub right there. I bet you
Mm-hmm.
that sounds good.
Infinity Kappa, well, I got a soft spot for them, man. Just the,
Yeah.
the amplifiers, the speakers. I had a pair of the 6x9s. Don't use those anymore. They're kind of old, rusted. They're very old. But I have an Infinity Kappa 4, and it's a 4-channel. It's fused for 90 amps. This thing is a sleeper, dude. It's 150 RMS at 2 by 4, 125 RMS by 4 at 4. Super clear. And I need to amp dyno it. The only reason why I took it out of my car was because I failed to get it fixed. It ran perfectly good. Long as the temperature outside stayed below like 65 degrees, I never had an issue. As soon as it came spring to summertime and it got warm outside, things started shutting off. I'm turning this car on, just amplifier on, nothing running, no music. Darn thing's getting hot. I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I took it to my amp guy, had him look at it. He said he threw some caulking or some cooling stuff, some fill to help with it. Did that, and I was like, it's doing the same thing. Brought it up again, looked at it again. He's like, honestly, there's nothing else I can do to it. I don't know what's wrong with it. So I kind of just put it on a shelf and just said, you know what, that's my loss. Because I paid $50 for it, and it lasted a long time. Not going to complain, but Infinity Kappas, those are some reference sound quality drivers, amplifiers. Definitely a soft spot for me.
Talking about soft spot, that Q class sub right here, that's doing it for me.
Mm.
$250 right there. That is a unit right there.
Heck yeah, dude. I'm surprised they're that cheap, really, man. I mean, shoot, I guess
That's a lot
that's
of stuff
about
for the
right.
money. That's a lot of stuff for the money.
Right. Yeah, I
But
think
it
those are
sounds
9.
fantastic, yeah.
I built enclosures for them. I never had any of the Q classes, man. They're nice. Reminds me of like a newer version of the CVX.
Yeah, that's what all reality when they went with the Q, that's the first thing I really thought it was like a nice refined revision on it.
Heck yeah.
All reality, dude, I know like 5 people with these things, and they bought the prefab thing with the box and the amp. And I've got a buddy that's there we go. That's it at all. Yeah.
Yep.
It took I heard one in a XJ Cherokee, and it was, I mean, it had no deadener, no bracing, whatever, but it was rattling the windows and the rearview mirror and all that stuff. And I'm like, you do you, buddy, just based on, but
I metered one of them. It did like a 135 at like 54 hertz.
oh,
That
wow.
setup. That
Hmm.
setup. In a little Honda Civic hatch, but he had like no flooring in his trunk. It was pretty bad. You know how the Honda Civic guys are. And weight reduction, bro.
Yeah,
You know.
JDM, yeah. I want to hear more NVX product, man. Like I don't know anybody that runs NVX, and I've seen I know they've been around for a long time, like a long, long time. I have like car audio magazines from like a decade ago that had NVX stuff in them. Have you known many people? I know Soundman's repping them and stuff. I can't wait to see what he
Brad.
does.
Brad.
Don't know.
I forget his last name. Mazda 2895 or whatever on YouTube. Yeah,
Hmm.
he likes the NVX and stuff. I never actually personally heard them. But I've heard of the brand within the past 3 years because of him and a couple other people saying that their amplifiers do rated, the price is there, but you don't see them too often in a stereo shop. When you go to a stereo shop like or Best Buy, you're gonna see Kicker, Sony, JL, Alpine, the big brands. Not so much the NVX, but I see Hertz. Hertz is coming out. Have you ever heard of Hertz? I think we talked
Yeah,
about it last time
my
actually.
buddy put a set of
Shoot.
the Hertz Milli Pro components in his doors and his Isuzu, and they sound amazing. So
Right.
I had 2 Alpine Type X 6.5s in my doors at the time, and I'm like, these Type X are just the bee's knees.
Yeah.
And I literally heard his 3-way component said the Hertz component said next to back to back the same song, my sound stage versus his straight up 3-way component said, and I'm like, I have to upgrade my Type X right now. And the Type X they're amazing sounding drivers, and they're really, I mean, they're like $300 for a pair of coaxials, but they're really nice. But if you're a bass head, once you get above like 145 dB or something like that, you could literally like drop the knob and watch them like get pressed up in the doors. You know what I mean? But
Right.
but cool, Andy. We're already past the hour mark here, and I actually have food waiting on me too. But I feel like this was a good conversation to have, and to hopefully give some people some insight on new versus used things you can buy and things to look for, or previous experiences you have. Do you have anything closing on that, or anything you want to speak on that?
Yeah, well, thank you guys for watching. Appreciate being on here, and hope you guys learned something, like you just said, with the new and used products, what to look for. New products are nice. You know what you're getting, and you know how much life you got left in them. But if you want to save $1 and get a little bit more bang for your buck, used could be the way to go. 60% of my products that I have at my house are used.
Mm-hmm.
Until recently, I haven't bought anything new. That was the way to go. So take
And
that
the
as you will.
and living alive with Andy, was that your first kicker product? Was the one whenever you swapped and horse rode into, that was your first sub with a kicker product, or no?
My first sub?
That's far.
And
Sorry, your first kicker product, your first kicker sub. That is.
oh, you mean like the first video that I made?
No, 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 no. You're talking about how you swapped with your buddy. You got the L7 and you put it in your,
Oh, yeah, yeah, because that was my first L7 kicker,
yeah.
any kind of
So
kicker that I had, and I traded for the Solo X. Haven't went back.
yeah, so
Grabbed a couple few more on the way.
and I wasn't making any kind of jab like that. I thought it was a humorous point, like, hey, yeah, like look, Andy, living loud with Andy got into kicker, and you're the enthusiast of kicker you are now, and do all that you do because of buying or end up trading around for a used kicker subwoofer, man. And so like
Exactly.
that's kind of cool to think about it that way. But we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. That's Rolling Thunder episode 3, new and used. What should I do? I appreciate your time, everyone. And again, it's open door. We'll be playing Southern Left. Maybe a very special guest next week. It'll be fun. I'd love to have you on the conversation on that too. Hopefully, we can have our other co-hosts. And it seems like the more people we have on it, obviously, the more conversation and fun it is. And I appreciate your time, like always, man.
Awesome. I'm down. Let me know. I'll be
Cool.
here.
We're gonna wrap it up. Everyone have a good night. I appreciate it. Peace.
See you guys.